This is Dennis McMahon, and welcome to Positively Vermont. And we're very pleased today to have Matthew Denhart, the president of the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Foundation, and to tell us about some very exciting events coming up next week uh, in Plymouth Notch, Vermont. Welcome, Matthew.
Great to be here. Thank you, Dennis.
And first of all, give us a little of your background. Tell us who you are and what your role is with the Calvin Coolidge Foundation.
Sure. Well, I'm pleased to be here. I'm the president of the Coolidge Foundation, based here in beautiful Plymouth Notch, Vermont, Windsor County, Central Vermont, at the Coolidge Historic Homestead, which we invite all of your audience to come and see. I know we'll talk about some of the special events, but I might just talk for a moment generally about the historic site here. It's the President Calvin Coolidge State Historic Site, regarded as one of the best preserved presidential birthplaces in all of America. The entire village is just as it was in the 1920s when President Coolidge was alive, open for visitors from about Memorial Day through late October. So please come see us. Well worth your trip. You'll learn a lot about history, a lot about Coolidge, a lot about America and American history. I'm sure you'll have a great day. Please do come see us.
Great. And this is probably one of the best America 250 events that I've seen. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about Calvin Coolidge himself and Calvin Coolidge as president.
Of course. Well, Coolidge was a Vermonter, one of two Vermont presidents. He was born in 1872, July 4th, actually, the only president born on the 4th of July, 1872, right here in tiny little Plymouth. When he was growing up, there were probably fewer than 100 residents of Plymouth Notch. That's probably still about true today. Isolated, remote, but very beautiful. He grew up here. He went to high school at Black River Academy, down the road in Ludlow, and then on to college at Amherst College. He read the law to become a lawyer and was an attorney by trade. Lived most of his adult life in Massachusetts first as a small kind of country lawyer in Northampton, Massachusetts, and got involved in politics, thinking that it would help connect him to his community. He might be able to be of some service and probably would help his law practice to understand the issues going on around him. That put him on a climb up the ladder, a steady climb to the presidency. Ultimately, he held more elected offices than any other president. So Coolidge was very prepared by the time he took the highest office. That happened early in the morning hours of August 3rd, 1923. He was vice president at the time. President Harding, as your viewers will probably recall, passed away unexpectedly. Coolidge and his wife Grace were actually right here in Plymouth Notch, where I am, visiting his father. They were asleep at the family home. You have to remember, Dennis, this was before widespread electricity, before telephones were in most homes. Certainly wasn't in the Coolidge home, even with the vice president there. So a messenger came in the middle of the night, knocked on the door to deliver the news that Calvin was now president. He took the oath of office by light of a kerosene lamp at 2:47 a.m. on August 3rd, 1923, in a small, quiet ceremony with his own father presiding and administering that oath. So then Coolidge served as president from 1923 to 1929. He was elected in his own right, known for balancing the budget, something that we may do well to study more today. He cut taxes while balancing the budget, bringing the top rate all the way down to 25%. A decade of much prosperity, innovation. This is when many Americans, did get electricity, maybe bought their first cars. The work week shortened from a typical six days of work per week down to five. Really a happy decade. Coolidge decided not to run again in 1928, so he served out his term into early 1929, and then retired and wrote a column, published his autobiography, and then tragically died, perhaps too young, of a heart attack a few years later.
Hmm. Well, that's great. And tell us about the foundation and the property. How did that get started?
Yeah, good question. The foundation was started in 1960 by John Coolidge, Coolidge's surviving son. He and Grace had two sons, Calvin Jr. and John. Calvin Jr. Himself tragically died in 1924 when Coolidge was president. John, his surviving son, started the Coolidge Foundation in 1960. This was before the modern presidential libraries. People probably been seeing the news that the Obama Library and Presidential Center has opened in Chicago this very month, which is exciting. But Coolidge operated, before the modern presidential library. So his son John Coolidge started the foundation as a private nonprofit, which is what we remain, to keep alive Coolidge's legacy, share his values, and the lessons of his presidency with Americans from coast to coast. So that remains our mission. We do that through a number of programs, a major college scholarship, a full ride for 4 years that students can use at any college in America. About 5,000 students apply annually, and in the process learn an awful lot about Coolidge by reading his autobiography, writing essays on his presidency. We have a debate program that operates around the country and culminates with what we call the Coolidge Cup here in Plymouth Notch over the 4th of July every year. So we're preparing now to welcome about 100 debate students from around the country who will come and compete. We're always looking for citizen judges, so we encourage those watching to go to CoolidgeFoundation.org to learn how maybe they can get involved. We have publications, conferences, and all sorts of programs for young and old alike to share Coolidge with a broad audience of Americans. Again, we think everyone would do well to learn more about Coolidge. People, I think, generally find that they like him more and more as they learn more about him and see much promise in the Coolidge way that would benefit us today, regardless of their own political persuasion. You asked as well about the historic site. The historic site is a wonderful public-private partnership, really led by the state of Vermont and its Division for Historic Preservation. Laura Treishman, the state's historic preservation officer, has been dedicated for many years to helping preserve this site, along with many others. Rejoice Sherry is the site administrator, does a really terrific job welcoming guests, overseeing the docents, and doing really critical preservation work here. So we're proud to work with the state of Vermont to bring visitors, especially young people, to discover Coolidge and hopefully come back time and time again.
That's great. And I noticed from the website, and this is you finally educated us all as to what the 250 is called. Semi-quincentennial.
Semi-quincentennial. You got it. Yeah, the semi-quincentennial. That's right.
And I remember the bicentennial in 1976. I think I was involved with it in my community there, and we had Operation Sail and all that stuff. But this is a 250. And so if you go to the website, it'll say America 250 at the Notch. And that's a series of events going from July 2nd to the 4th. And so tell us what's going to be happening at the Notch.
Yeah, absolutely.
To celebrate the 250th anniversary.
Yeah, well, we're very excited and honored to be able to host the celebration and host it here in Plymouth Notch. I think it's very fitting because President Coolidge was president 100 years ago at the Sesquicentennial, which is the 150th anniversary of America. And Coolidge himself is very proud to lead the nation in celebrating that anniversary. In fact, he gave a speech that's still well known and studied today. called The Inspiration of the Declaration. That was on July 5th, 1926. He went, as I said, to Philadelphia to give that speech. And he talked about the nature of the Declaration, and really gives sort of a history lesson of how it came to be, that it was the outgrowth of much political thought for a long time leading up to it, and how the founding fathers and in colonial America came to see that individual rights were important, and then that they dared to declare independence and not just say that we no longer belong to Britain, but indeed to set up a system of government that would protect individual rights and allow people to self-govern. This was the first time in history that such a notion really would go into force and certainly survive. And so Coolidge, thought what a wonderful opportunity to share this with Americans, to give this just beautiful speech called The Inspiration of the Declaration. So we think it's very fitting for the celebration to continue now, 100 years after that, in Plymouth Notch. And to your question about what's going on, all sorts of things over 3 days. Things kick off on July 2nd with our Coolidge Cup National Speech and Debate Championship. As I mentioned, about 100 students from all over America who have already qualified through regional competitions will be coming. The foundation sponsors them to travel to Vermont. They stay nearby and come for a big national championship debate tournament. This year, they'll be debating the War Powers Act of 1973 and whether it ought to be amended to further limit presidential war power or presidential war-making power. Turns out to be very timely, but our hope is that students will learn much history through the course of preparing for and taking part in these debates, looking at how presidents have and Congress have wrestled over that authority for decisions concerning war and peace before 1973 and certainly since then. So it'll be an exciting tournament. Again, viewers can come and actually be a part of it, a key part of it, by being a judge, a citizen judge. We do all the training you need. So if you find that you're able and sounds interesting and exciting, we hope that you'll check that out. CoolidgeFoundation.org, again, is where you can find information there. The Coolidge Cup also includes a declamation tournament, which is giving speeches. And so these high school students from around the country, some 250 or so of them competed, and the top 12 have earned the right to come and compete in the final rounds here in Plymouth Notch. So they'll be giving Coolidge's speeches, including that Inspiration of the Declaration speech. So you can come and be a part of that as well. On July 3rd, everything continues. In the evening, we have a big America 250 orchestra evening. Conductor John Masco will be here with an orchestra playing traditional pieces. You might think John Philip Sousa, Yankee Doodle, the 1812 Overture. We're particularly excited. We'll have an actual cannon that will fire during that 1812 Overture, thanks to the Vermont Civil War Hemlocks who will be here, and many partners who are making this possible. Free of charge. We hope you'll come and enjoy being in Plymouth and enjoy the evening. Everything then continues and really in a crescendo up to the 4th itself. On the morning of July 4 at 10 a.m., we'll have a naturalization ceremony. This is when immigrants who have completed all the requirements to become citizens will swear the oath of allegiance and actually become full-fledged citizens in a ceremony presided over by a federal judge right here at the Coolidge Historic Site. That'll be at 10 a.m. on July 4. At 11:30, we'll have a big public reading of the Declaration itself on the village square. That'll be followed by a bagpipe performance, and then we will march with the National Guard leading us down to the Coolidge Cemetery, where a wreath that's been sent from the White House, happens every year, will be placed upon President Coolidge's grave by members of the Coolidge family and the National Guard. We'll have some remarks and some readings from Coolidge speeches that will be led by the Coolidge family. And then in the afternoon, we'll have birthday cupcakes for America and for President
Mhm.
Coolidge, the final rounds of this Coolidge Cup Championship debate, as well as two living history performances. We'll have a John Adams reenactor here, and also Tracy Messer, a historic interpreter of Calvin Coolidge, will also be performing as well. There will be tours of the historic site. The historic site will be have free entry on the 4th, courtesy of the Division for Historic Preservation. All sorts of excitement. We do advise folks to bring a picnic lunch. The food options are a bit limited here in Plymouth. As I mentioned, it is rather remote even still, but I think probably the most beautiful setting to take in America 250 with lots of activity and excitement.
That sounds great. I know you have members, and maybe you could just explain this annual meeting that's going to take place on July 3rd at
Yes,
the
that's right.
place.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Yeah, at 4 p.m. on July 3rd will be the foundation's annual meeting. So for open to all members and their guests of the foundation. So if you're a member, we hope you'll come and see some of these things in action, hear about all the different programs the foundation has been up to and sponsoring. You'll get to meet many of the students who participate in our scholarship program, in our debate program, and in other aspects of our work. So please do come on out. If you'd like to become a member, you can go to coolidgefoundation.org and you can join and become a member of the foundation. We'd love to have you. In addition to getting to come to the annual meeting, you'll receive our publication, the Coolidge Review, as well as our e-newsletters, which go out on a weekly basis.
Tell us a little bit about the Coolidge Review. What kind of publication is that, and when does it come out?
Yeah, well, viewers can find the online edition anytime at coolidgereview.com. It has new articles weekly and a physical, kind of high quality physical print edition that publishes twice a year. In fact, the next one comes out in coming days. We'll be hitting mailboxes in early July, and then the second issue at the end of the year. This most recent issue is titled "Business to the Rescue." The foundation hosted a big conference at the Library of Congress back in January of this year by the same title, and the conference looked at America in the 20th century and especially profiled the entrepreneurs who helped develop new technologies, new companies that powered our country forward. You might think of the Wright brothers, for instance. We had a
Mhm.
speaker on the Wright brothers and the importance of tax policy and allowing them to accumulate the capital to start their own company that they really bootstrapped into the air, leading America into flight. But the Coolidge Review, really across all its issues, tries to take another look at history, maybe sometimes a little different from what standard textbooks might say, delve deeper and highlight themes that I think President Coolidge would have picked out of history that perhaps otherwise go unnoticed. So folks can sign up for a complimentary subscription to it as well at coolidgereview.com, as well as follow along with the articles that are published on a more frequent basis there as well.
I see from your website that you're going to be having an event in September. Tell us what that's about.
In September, let's see, maybe jog my memory. I don't remember what's the title of that one.
A Shakespeare event?
Thank you. Yes.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so focused here on the 4th of July that we'll get to that one soon. Yes, over Labor Day weekend for many years now, we've hosted a Shakespeare group who perform a show called Shakespeare Alive that takes place in the historic church that the foundation owns and maintains here in Plymouth Notch. These are professional actors who come, and it's a variety show. often with a good deal of humor injected into it. So very high quality acting, very fun. We hope people will come check that out. And then along with that is the Plymouth Folk and Blues Festival, organized by Jay Ottaway and the state of Vermont. So people can stay and be treated to really, professional musicians playing folk and blues in a kind of historic, beautiful environment. Again, free of charge. So we hope people will come and check that out as well.
That's great. Yeah, I'm going to commit to an additional program sometime near the fall to explain these events and maybe look forward to some of your projects for the next year because it's an amazing uh, resource. And I really want to have you back to update us on that. Now, is there going to be any souvenirs or takeaway? Do you have a bookstore or anything like that? I know people love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I'd be delighted to come back, Dennis, and honored to have been on your show a few times now. Thank you. Always a pleasure. Let's see. We do have an online store at coolidgefoundation.org where you can buy primarily books. I think that's almost exclusively what we have for sale there. Coolidge's own autobiography. In recent years, the foundation has put out a new edition of Coolidge's work. Another book of his speeches called "Have Faith in Massachusetts," which was originally published in the around 1920. We have a new edition of that, as well as other books related to Coolidge and history. So people can check that out. And as you mentioned earlier, too, we hope folks might consider becoming a member. Not only do you, again, get to come to the annual meeting and get subscriptions to our publications, but you'll be supporting all this work to help us reach, especially the next generations, so that they can learn about Coolidge and all the principles that he thought were important and study the lessons of the 1920s.
That's great. What we always like to ask on Positively Vermont is, what do you need to help your effort? Any volunteers or certainly donations or maybe contributions of items? So tell us what the viewers can do to help the Calvin Coolidge Presidential Foundation.
Well, it's very nice of you to ask, Dennis. We're a nonprofit, 501(c)(3). We don't take government funds. Coolidge himself thought that former presidents ought to not have, pensions from the government. Things, of course, have changed, and probably by necessity, former presidents, of course, at a minimum need rather substantial security and other things. But in Coolidge's age, it was possible for a former president not to be supported by taxpayers, and so our foundation is not either. So we rely, therefore, exclusively on private gifts. So folks can contribute at coolidgefoundation.org /donate, and they can also donate by check and send it to us. That's always helpful. By becoming a member, you're supporting our work, and certainly volunteering is a major way as well. As I mentioned, all these debate programs that we have really rely on volunteers to be citizen judges. Without our citizen judges, the program would not be possible. So we really could use help there. And finally, we have a project we call the Scribe Project. We're working on a virtual library of Coolidge's speeches, documents, and other writings and proclamations and the like, trying to get everything digitized and online so that people can find Coolidge's primary sources more easily. And so scribes help us to take it from, say, PDF files into something that can go up on the web. So if you're interested in that, please again, go to our website and have a look for the Scribe Project, another way that folks can help out.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, Matthew. I want to commend you and your organization, and I want our viewers to take a look at your website and see all this very exciting events coming up for the 250th. You know, I haven't really seen much about that nationwide, and I do follow a lot of news nationwide and also in Europe. And we are coming up on America 250, and you will be celebrating America 250 at the Notch. And again, thank you and your colleagues for all your help, and we'll hope to see you very soon. And thanks again, Matthew. And this is Dennis McMahon. Thank you for watching Positively Vermont.